Fredberry stalked the amber prairies. We all gotta live by nature's law. Live. I'm gonna live to bang and roll. I'm gonna live and I'll live my way.
Great job. Ted Nugent, where's Ted Nugent? Where's Ted? Huh? Look at you. You doing well? You are a handsome devil. Thank you. Great job, Ted. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
And now, it's time for Ted Nugent's Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus. It's the physics of spirituality with attitude. Powered by Patriot Mobile. Switch now. Go to patriotmobile.com/Ted.
Born in that Detroit town.
I pray to God that sounded as good out there as it did in this room. I have a full-on spiritual erection. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. This is the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire, and I'm covering for my blood brother of truth, logic, and common sense. In fact, you know what I do every day? I cover for all my blood brothers of truth, logic, and common sense. John Brenkus will join us here shortly. I have a funny feeling his wife is kicking his ass right now because he's probably gotten away with murder for far too long. And I got to tell you, we've been doing this Spirit Campfire. I suppose my goddess of calendar management, you know, I can't manage my calendar by myself. It's a cluster orgy of outrageous intensity. My life is so intense, it ain't right. But let me tell you what we've been doing all this week. John's going to join us here in a minute if he's got the balls. But anyhow, John, you relax. Everyone relax. John will be okay. You've heard of my buddy John Brenkus. Chuck wrote a song about him even before he was born. It was Johnny Be Good. But here it is. What is today? The 8th? Is today the, Courtney, is today the 8th? The 8th of March, 2021. I could start with a million things. I killed hogs. See this attitude? Can you see the rosy cheeks? You know, if I had a little bit of sleep, I'd really be downright handsome. But right now, the bags under my eye have always been ammo bags. In fact, they've been Remington Corlock ammo bags. And today, I hosed down. I should feel guilty. I have so much fun. But I hosed down hogs, acres of hogs, from a helicopter with my machine gun. It's okay. You can't do this in France. You can't do this in California. You can't do this in New York or New Jersey. You can't do this in Maryland or Massachusetts or Connecticut. You can only do what I did today with the Heli Hog gods, Craig and Johnny. Johnny Be Good, the master of Hogzilla helicopter Ramboisms, and with my beautiful, a moment of silence for my M4. I wish I had it here, but I found it. I just got done. I actually spoon my machine gun. We get on the ground and I spoon my machine gun. I put my balls right up against my machine gun's buttocks and I snuggle her. Today from my helicopter in northern Texas, we filmed for Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild television, Uncle Ted slamming angry pigs, angry pork chops on the hoof with my machine gun from a helicopter. Let me tell you, I don't have the website, but I think you can go to tednugent.com. What can't you get at tednugent.com? Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Please spread the word. Don't ask me where you can get this hat. Don't ask me where you can get this hat. I signed thousands of these hats. Don't ask me where you can get a personally autographed come and take it flag. Don't ask me. You can't get it at buttslam.com. You can't get it anywhere except tednugent.com. And that's the last time I mentioned it, because if you people ask me where can I get your come and take it flag, and you're actually on an internet Wi-Fi intergalactic communication device, since you have one in your hand asking me where to get it, you must know how it works and that there's been this .com thing going on. So if you want the ultimate shit kicker hat, I don't know if my website can keep up with it, but I signed thousands and thousands of these. You can get these at tednugent.com, and you can also get the come and take. By the way, I didn't come up with this. Some guy had me sign his come and take it flag, and his buddy goes, "Can I get one of those?" I go, "Yeah, get one. I'll sign it for you." And so I went, everybody wants one, but nobody's got one. So I went and got some. So I have signed thousands of come and take it hats and flags at tednugent.com, which, of course, is the epicenter of all things truth, logic, common sense, and the American dream, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Go to my website. I think we got the helicopter, Craig and Johnny hog slamming helicopter hunting out on my
Uncle
website.
Ted.
Is that John trying dress? Is that Johnny Be Good trying like a maniac trying to get on? John, are you there?
Dude.
Are you there?
I'm here, dude. I have the best excuse ever for why I'm late. Here,
I already
first of
gave
all,
that excuse. I said your wife is kicking your ass.
That's right. So listen, on Saturday, I woke up with a wild hair up my butt, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go down to the DMV and get my motorcycle license. And I got my motorcycle license on Saturday, literally on a whim. And I'm out in Las Vegas right now. And my good friend, Randy Couture, MMA legend, he lives out here. And I just said to him, hey, I got my motorcycle license, hopped on one of his Harleys, went out riding, and I was out in the middle of the desert riding hard. John Brenkus is riding a Harley Davidson with Randy Couture before I could get back. It was like the most surreal thing. And now my man card has been upgraded because not only have I now gotten into hunting, not only am I a spear fisherman, but now I legit can ride Harleys.
Now, let me ask, is this your first motorcycle? Have you never had a Harley before?
No, this is the first time. And literally, I did it because my buddy Trevor is down in Daytona now at Bike Week. And he called me and he just said, dude, you got to man up and just go get your motorcycle license. So I did on a whim. I've never even ridden a motorcycle.
So, John, are you telling me that you got a motorcycle license for the first time, you got a Harley for the first time, and you went from Georgia to Las Vegas on a motorcycle?
No. I flew to Las Vegas, and while I was here, I just contacted Randy. We just rode out into the desert, and we just had the best time ever. I'll tell you what, I'm almost 50 years old. You know, prior to the Spirit Campfire, I'd never fired a gun. I have, and all of a sudden, in a year, I feel like I have so much testosterone going through my body now. I don't know what to do with it all.
Well, when you hang out with Uncle Ted, I had a bumper crop of these this year, and I had a bumper crop of testosterone this year. So if you just get downwind of my vortex or my vapor trail, you will have a spiritual erection more often than the good Lord actually intended. And sometimes those spiritual erections manifest itself from shooting hogs with machine guns from helicopters to getting your first Harley Davidson. And I got to ask you, John, I started out tonight. They said you were going to be a little tardy, which I'm all for. I unleashed a song called I Still Believe. I don't know if you heard it, but it's a song about still believing in America. And it sounds like John Brenkus, whether it was 1929, 1959, which I was having a riot in 59, by the way. My sister Kathy was born on March 12th, 1959 in Detroit. So it doesn't matter what year, you prove that even during cluster whack 2021, you can carve out your American dream, get your first Harley Davidson, and just go nuts.
Oh my God. And this is what is amazing. So I am the guy that is the farthest thing from a gun-loving Harley Davidson riding guy. Like
you used to be. You used to be.
Now I'm like, what have I been missing my whole life? And it is what's incredible is now I'm officially a hunter. I have gone hunting in South Dakota for pheasant. I've gone riding a Harley Davidson. Here's what's amazing about both hunting and riding motorcycle. I've literally never ridden a motorcycle and just did it on a whim, got my license, just went out riding. You have to be so present. You cannot be paying attention to your cell phone. You cannot be thinking about bills. You can't be you have to be in the moment or it's over. Like I was so just now, Ted, I was so in the moment, and I'm like, this is incredible. And I'm almost 50, and I feel like I'm finally living. Oh, my God, this is amazing.
See what happens when you hang out with Uncle Ted? All of a sudden, it's like the Lewis and Clark expedition of your spirit. But that's great because, you know, nothing is sacred. And nothing status quo should ever be accepted. It should be scrutinized. It should be questioned. Critical thinking is important. You just humped on the same thing we talked about many, many campfires ago, being in the moment, being the best that you can be. And people who have accidents on motorcycles is a result of people in their automobiles not being tuned in. So let's take the advantage of this as my blood brother John Brenkus becomes a hog rider. While I'm killing hogs from helicopters with machine guns, you're straddling a hog on the highways of America. Maybe this is a good moment. In fact, no maybe about it. It's a perfect moment that if you're going to ride a bike, if you're going to ride a motorcycle, like anything in life, but especially a motorcycle on the highways of America with the numbnuts that infest the highways of America.
Yeah.
Boy, if ever there was a samurai calling, a higher level of awareness, a situational omniscience for survival, I have a funny feeling it's on a motorcycle. I, back in 1969, got arrested walking on stage at the Traverse City Cherry Festival because I was wearing a loincloth and had a broken scabbard knife, a sheath knife on my side, and some dirtbag punk-ass Traverse County hot dog bad cop, one of those bad cops we heard about, he arrested me going on stage at the Cherry Festival with the Amboy. He arrested me as about to start the concert. What a prick. What a power-abusing, jack-booted prick he was. And he put me in the drunk tank with a bunch of migrant cherry pickers. I had to kick a couple asses just to use toilet paper that weekend because I had a loincloth on, so they thought I was susceptible. But let me tell you, if anybody's not susceptible to anything, especially aggression, it's Ted Nugent in a loincloth during the migrant cherry-picking festival in Traverse City, Michigan. So my point is that when I got out of jail and they finally realized I didn't have a concealed weapon, it was a stage outfit. The weapon was visible, which is why the cops saw it, which means it wasn't concealed. That prick should have gone in jail, or maybe I should have fought him for some toilet paper. Anyhow, when I got out, I put on some pants and I bought a Honda 350 Scrambler in Traverse City, which is up here. And,
right.
And during nasty, nasty thunderstorms, the first time in my life I got on that Honda 350, and that's not a road machine. Well, it's kind of like a scrambler or an off-road bike meets a highway machine, kind of a combination of the two. And I rode that damn bike in a thunderstorm all the way back down to Detroit. Down I-75 with those June bugs smashing into my head the whole way. But that was my first motorcycle outrageous experience. And I got to tell you, I'm lucky I didn't get squashed by an errant dirtbag on the highways. So John Brenkus is now a motorcycle guy. So everybody out there who loves their hogs, love their hot rods, love their motorcycles and their two-wheelers, be careful. Turn up that radar of awareness, because I guarantee you will be sharing the highway with people who don't even have a radar. They will not see you. They will cut you off. They will not use their turn signal. They'll hog the left lane without passing people. So I think this is a good moment where a lesson can be learned. So thank you for that, Brenkus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just in awe as to what I've been missing my entire life in terms of just experiences. And I'm out here with a really good friend of mine. And one of the things I like to pride myself on is that I'm always learning something new, always trying something new. And this motorcycle thing, what's interesting is when people say, why would you want to take that chance? Why would you want to take that risk? And when I went and just got on the motorcycle and you know, sort of Michael Jordan loves riding a motorcycle because of how present you actually have to be. Sure. And as I'm riding, I'm like, you know what? Yes, I imagine this is dangerous. Yes, I mean, you can be foolish and, you know, out on the highway and someone's not paying attention and hit you. But you think about that. And then on the other side, you're like, yeah, or you can be really, really, really present and enjoy the moment right this second. And it's such a thrill and it almost felt like a cleansing. And it's kind of like, what's funny is that everybody out there who I'm sure has been riding motorcycles for a really long time, we went out to a saloon. Randy and I, we went out to like a saloon that's outside of Vegas. It's like a motorcycle saloon, and you can just tell that this community is so welcoming and so like, hey, come on in. It's like it's just like the hunting community. It's like, hey, we welcome all. We want you to come in, as opposed to the stereotype of like, hey, we don't serve your kind. Yeah. We're like, hey, come on in, let's party. And it was absolutely amazing. And I feel so blessed just to have good friends in my life who have accepted me for being me and just being the kind of guy that I am.
By the way, that's really special. That's really special. Yeah. That's a true friend that will accept John Brenkus for what you are. Because Because you have an edginess about you, because sometimes people are intimidated by people that are really, really alive and go for the gusto and break the rules. But you stop and think, on this beautiful March 8th, 2021, John Brenkus did something that is perceived and presumed to be extremely dangerous, and it can be. What isn't dangerous? But stop and think. So we have a spirit campfire, Ted Nugent spirit campfire with John Brenkus. So John Brenkus baptized himself into the motorcycle highway maneuvers, and I was in a helicopter shooting pigs with a machine gun. Now, a lot of people go, isn't that dangerous? What isn't dangerous?
Oh my God. Were you in a helicopter today?
I was in a helicopter today, and I was hosing hogs. And stop and think about it, John. A lot of people go, well, that's not sporting. Really? Well, share with us your last experience hitting running hogs from a helicopter and how it wasn't sporting. Well, I've never done it, but anybody can do that. Well, hey, how about shut the I tell you, John, when I kill pigs out of the helicopter, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm saving the environment from erosion and destruction. It's absolutely widespread. So Ted Nugent with his machine gun from a helicopter, killing hogs, and boy, we kill them by the thousands. We didn't do thousands today, but we killed a bunch, and big, nasty, rototiller, earth-destroying hogs. So I saved the environment from the destruction and the rototilling. They're just notorious. I also save agriculture because they destroy tens of millions of dollars of agriculture just in Texas. I saved wildlife because the hogs eat the quail eggs, and they eat fawns, they kill deer, they destroy ground nesting birds. So I saved the environment, I saved agriculture, I saved wildlife, I saved tax dollars, because when you don't kill adequate numbers of wild hogs, the government, the USDA, comes in and they will snag your tax dollars, hire people to go in and kill them. So I saved the environment, I saved wildlife, I saved agriculture, I saved tax dollars, and I fed pure, natural, organic pork to soup kitchens and homeless shelters. Plus, I'm helping create a huge entrepreneurial business that generates tens of millions of dollars in state revenues, food, lodging, groceries, beer, ice chests, ammo, licenses, the gas for the helicopter, the business of the helicopter, the lodge of the helicopter. It's called Heli, Heli, the Heli Hog operation, Craig and Johnny. So what some people who are ignorant and presumptuous and just downright stupid, they think buying pork in a package is like perfect, but killing them from a helicopter is like taboo. Just the opposite. What I did today, and by the way, I also saved the environment from the attempted poisoning campaign. The Texas Parks and Wildlife and the United States Department of Agriculture was going to implement basically an indiscriminate, they'll tell you it's not indiscriminate, but believe me when I tell you it's indiscriminate, poisoning campaign that guess what it would have poisoned beyond the hogs? Everything! So Uncle Ted is almost like Mother Teresa with a machine gun in a helicopter today. So you had your hog experience, and I had my
exactly. Hey, this is
day.
all I have to say. When I come down for auction weekend and we finally get to meet in person, we have to go bow hunting because I've never been bow hunting, so it's like spearfishing on land. So I think I'm going to be okay at it. But B, can we reserve a helicopter? Because listen, if I'm going all into hunting, I'm going all in on bow hunting and hunting hogs out of a helicopter.
John, it is, I'm a guy of superlatives and extreme rhetoric, but what could be too extreme or hyperbole in explaining the riot of shooting angry running pigs from a helicopter? How can I adequately explain that? But let me do my motorcycle samurai moment as my spirit is fluttering about with intensity, excitement, adrenaline beyond belief. When I get my Matthews bow in my hand and I get like this, and again, I always emphasize, archery can be done in the living room. I'm in my man cave cuckoo's nest. I have a target just 10 feet away. Archery, like controlling your motorcycle, you're only going to become one with your Harley the more you understand throttle, brakes, balance, maneuvering, turning, G-forces. And no matter what you're pursuing in life, my friends, I am bombarded, John, every day by people who got inspired to get a bow and arrow, a lightweight, easy to draw, graceful bow and arrow. And they discover that when you're having a good time and you're working hard, you're playing hard, you're taking care of life's responsibilities, and you're being a good parent, a good husband, a good neighbor, a good productive American, being the best that you can be. And that is very gratifying and fulfilling, but it also creates stress. When you have that wind in your face on your Harley, there is a peacefulness. Yes, it's roaring and you got horsepower between your legs. By the way, I've always had horsepower between my legs. I can't get rid of it. But when you pursue life with true vigor and dedication and seek life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, I think we all need to get right about here. We need to let the spirit calm down. We need to get the hand-eye coordination. We need to see that. And the arrow is the path of our life. So I thought I would emphasize that because, John, this week I've done so much stuff, but it was also Fred Bear's 119th birthday. Ooh. Fred Bear was born on March 5th, 1902 in Pennsylvania. And every year, my buddy John Wedrowski and all my Polak buddies in Michigan and all my Mystical Flight of the Arrow buddies in Michigan, and they sent me this whistling arrow, Fred Bear Day, March 5th, 2021. And this little ping pong ball that they put holes in actually causes a whistle. And thousands of men and women ascended on Grayling, Michigan, the home of bear archery, and they drew numbers to be the 21 to do a 21 Fred Bear arrow salute on Fred Bear's birthday in the snow of Grayling, Michigan. And I'm telling you, I felt it. You know how much I love the guy. You know how much the song means to so many people. And one day, boy, if you could join me, someday on March 5th, the Nugent family has to go to Grayling, Michigan and join them in that salute to a man who touched so many people. John Wedrowski and everybody, Jim and everybody at the Fred Bear Pizzeria, at the Bears Inn Pizzeria in Grayling, Michigan. John, it is a reunion of people who are so moved by what this campfire is about, because that's why it's called the Spirit Campfire. Yeah. And we have a wonderful guest coming on. You hear me all the time praising the great late Rush Limbaugh because he always delivered unapologetic, unambiguous, courageous truth, logic, and common sense during a culture war, during a cancel culture Marxist mayhem. And I'm always talking about saluting Tucker Carlson for being brave. My buddy Joe Pags, I did the Joe Pags radio, did the Mark Davis radio, Steve Gruber, Michael Berry this week, Frank Beckman in Detroit, Lars Larson, Joe Rogan, Adam Carolla, Joe Piscopo. I was on Rush Limbaugh's show a bunch of time. And I'd like to think, in fact, I'm convinced conclusively, John, that you and I on the Spirit Campfire, we keep that unapologetic. We believe in the self-evident truth, logic, and common sense that our guest tonight, I think Mark's coming on. Mark Davis has been a pillar of defiance against status quo, defiance against the lies and the deceit and the corruption of political correctness and the cancel culture, and somehow thinking that men get to race against women. We believe in women's right, except in the actual real world. You know, so many atrocities. So our guest tonight, by the way, Courtney, is Mark Davis going to join us soon?
He is going to join us. I think he's in the room, and we need to give props to Patriot Mobile for being a great sponsor. And I think Mark Davis is in the room for us.
Right here.
So,
Mark Davis!
Hey, hi, guys.
Hey, Mark, have you been listening to all this chaos so far?
I have been plugged in for about the last 10 or 15 minutes. And let me thank you for a story a couple of minutes ago that features three of my favorite things: firearms, helicopters, and pork. I mean,
It's the biggest.
how do you not love
Well,
this?
let me tell you, John, I want you to meet my blood brother of truth, logic, and common sense. Mark is unmovable.
Hi, John.
Mark, I want you to
Hey.
meet my blood brother of truth, logic, and common sense who created the Spirit Campfire with me, John Brenkus, Mark Davis. The three of us deserve each other.
I think that's clearly true. And I've just been watching you become familiar with John through you. And it's just a joy to watch you guys interact and watch the kind of love that comes through the Campfire podcast.
It's really different, isn't it, Mark?
It's there's kind of like everything else you've done. There's an overused word in the English language, and that word is unique. People use unique when they mean uncommon, rare. No. Unique, as the root of the word suggests, unique means there is one, only one, and there's only one Nuge. Only one legacy like this of rock and roll, only one family like the Nugent clan, only one podcast like this, and only one guest like you on the humble little radio show I do. It is always a joy to fire it up and have a little segment with Uncle Ted.
You know, I breathe fire. You know, I had a song with the Amboy Dukes called You Talk Sunshine, I Spit Fire. Well, I really do spit fire. But Mark, even before we met, you were already in the communication world. You were already a radio guy before we actually met. And you were already standing up to what you saw, this wave of indecency and dishonesty that ultimately became known as political correctness. And now it is metastasized to a much worse level of a cancel culture. And even though we're going to keep this really positive because there's enough negative out there, but in order to keep and maximize the positive, we've talked about this every time on the radio. In order for the good to expand, we must identify the bad and the ugly to eliminate it to the best of our ability, thereby enhancing the good. When did you realize that when you got on the air like Rush Limbaugh, and like so many of the guys that I do radio interviews with, it's not just a matter of articulating and delivering the truth and logic and common sense. It's almost like you have to use it as a battering ram against an enemy that keeps entering our domain. How long ago? I figured out by about 68, 69, not when I was 68, in 1968. When did Mark Davis realize that you had to be aggressive, more assertive in driving home truth, logic, and common sense because it was disappearing in the media?
Everything you described, we all know what the decade of the 60s was like. In the 70s, things seemed to calm down. But then with the election of Ronald Reagan, something that a lot of people thought could never happen, this affable dunce, this Hollywood cowboy, how in the world could he actually be president of the United States? And the media culture mocked him, and the Democratic Party mocked him, and all he did is put together two of the most amazing terms that we've seen in presidential history. During that time, I was a young, wet behind the ears talk show host, and I began to see this happen. I got my first show in Jacksonville, Florida in 1982. And I went from Jacksonville to the great city of Memphis for the end of the 1980s. Things were happening. The media culture was getting more full of itself. Their savaging of Reagan became something that they grew more comfortable with. It became something that they quickly learned they could get away with. So as the 80s became the 90s and the aughts and the decades have come, nothing has relented. And that's what gets us where we are now. And if the Reagan presidency was the initial trigger, the M1 Abrams tank was the election of Donald Trump. Another thing they never thought could happen, but it did. And it was like just a broom handle to the sphincter of the media culture. And that's why they hated him so much. That's why they energized every Democrat in the world to vote against him in this still tainted result that we can talk about, now or some other time. But it's, and now maybe, just maybe, to put a positive spin on this, the pendulum may be swinging back. Even some good-hearted Democrats recognize this cancel culture, this new fascism cannot stand. And maybe that is the beginning, not of total common ground or unity. We'll never have unity. People are always going to disagree about stuff, and that's fine. But I hope we can get rid of the days where if you're conservative and you say something, the left, the media culture, doesn't just say we disagree. It's either you're stupid or you're evil, And we got to get past this. And I think a lot of people have about had it up to their eyeballs.
Mark, Mark, I have a question for you because, and I'm trying to advance this. You know, everyone's trying to label everybody else. Now, I've been a registered independent my whole life, so I don't associate with either political party. And I, quite frankly, in all the elections that I could vote, I think I may have only voted for one or two true party candidates in my entire life. I usually write somebody in because they're not representing me. But I believe in freedom of speech. I definitely believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that que sera, sera. I believe that, you know, we should all be able to voice our opinion. And if you feel one way, that's fine. We can civilly disagree. I feel like if you had to put a label on me, and I'm not going to drag Ted into this, but I'm telling you, Ted Nugent and I are cut from what I think is a classical liberal cloth. Because isn't it circa 1985? I'm like, listen, whatever your sexuality, whatever your gender, whatever your religious belief, whatever your political affiliation, I love you. And that's my stance. And if I were to have to label that, doesn't it feel like a classically liberal stance these days?
You have used the term in exactly the right way. And if anybody's confused by it, I know that conservative and liberal have sort of pigeonhole definitions now, which in a way work for many people. I mean, we can identify conservatives, we can identify liberals, we all know who we're talking about. But that is a superb use of the term classical liberal, which takes us back to people like JFK, takes us back to people who used to be on our colleges and universities, who probably wanted a little more taxes than I did, maybe wanted a little less military than I do. You know, they're to the left of center, but we all came together in a certain live and let live, freedom and liberty embracing way, so that we had our disagreements in that atmosphere of mutual respect, mutual appreciation of our founding fathers, mutual appreciation of our Constitution, mutual appreciation of liberty and free speech, and those are gone. And they must be regained.
Well, the reason they're gone is because our education system literally morphed into an anti-education system a little bit after the 60s, and they took away the information that there's only one place with a constitution that guarantees individual rights, that declares your independence, that has an outline that contradicts and defies all the kings and the emperors and the tyrants of the past. And so now when I talk about, and I got to tell you, Mark, we've talked about this. I ditto the self-evident truth that you and my buddy John articulate. But I've always been the tip of the spear because the left started hating guns and gun owners. And I have talked about que sera, sera. I've always said, if you don't want to own a gun, nobody's saying you have to. Unfortunately, the other side says they don't want to own a gun and you can't either. And then the other tip of the spear, hunting rights. Well, if I've never said everybody should be a hunter. No, I've said just the opposite. Everybody shouldn't be a hunter. Everybody shouldn't be a golfer. Everybody shouldn't knit wool sweaters. Everybody should choose their own path. But unfortunately, what's happened when political correctness came in and the zombies of the left started taking over. They've taken over media, academia, Hollywood, and the entire Democrat Party, I'm afraid. So I hunt. Somebody has to hunt to balance the herd. I've always said, if you don't want to hunt, by all means don't. I got you covered. I'm going to kill enough for both of us. But the other side didn't say that. The other side said, I hate hunting and I'm going to stop you from hunting. Now, those are two tip of the spear examples, but it goes to everything from abortion to taxes to border security to strength and peace through firepower in a strong military that Ronald Reagan epitomized. When do you think, I know we first met on my 50th birthday party, and I was such a young whippersnapper. I think I was still like Bruce Lee when I was 50.
Just a baby.
Now I'm more like Everett Dirksen, but still with a machine gun. By the way, everybody out there, look up Everett Dirksen. It's really a good analogy.
There you go.
My point being is that you and I have all this, and not, by the way, I've always brought to your show, when you bring to your show, when I listen to you, when I'm driving the Hellcat up 35 heading towards Dallas like I did today to kill pigs, You've always expressed what my band believes, what my hunting buddies believe, what my brothers and sisters believe, what my management believes, what my crew, everybody I know. There is still self-evident truth. But beyond the celebration of this pillar of common sense that we celebrate, like Brenkus and everybody else we've had on this show, everybody from Billy Gibbons and Mark Farner to Sarah Palin and Mike Huckabee and Joe Piscopo. We've had the best guests in the world, Mark Davis. There is a rock and roll pulse. You are a rock and roll nut as much as you are a political nut, a we the people political nut. Tell me what your upbringing was and why we share the love of this sonic bombast that me and my Gibson Birdland epitomize, if I may say so myself.
My dad was 20 years in the Air Force, and that means we got to do a little bit of traveling. I grew up mostly in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., while my dad worked at the Pentagon. He was stationed over at the American Embassy in London, helping with some Cold War operations over there, which is the greatest, but I had little understanding of that because I'm like in first and second grade. Came back and I got to grow up in the rest of my childhood, really, in those same Maryland suburbs of D.C. And as I got to be 13, 14, 15, 16, working my way toward high school, there's this part of my music collection that's devoted to this wonderful band called the Amboy Dukes and Journey to the Center of Your Mind.
Killer music!
Exactly right. And then that here's a great word, that eponymous album yours, meaning named after you and the Gibson Birdland, the one that has Hey Baby and Stranglehold, and it changed my life. And then along comes Free for All, and on the Free for All tour, Ted Nugent opens for Black Sabbath at the Capitol Center in Largo, Maryland in, I think, fall of 1976. I think my ears just stopped ringing this morning. And I saw you 2 or 3 more times. And then, so the military family, the talk radio career, I become imbued with this loss of respect for opposing views. So I said, doggone it, that's what I'm going to do every day. I'm going to tell everybody what I believe, and anybody that disagrees is welcome to call. I'll tell them why I think they're wrong. They can tell me why they think I'm wrong, and we're going to do it with good humor and goodwill, which there's not enough of. And then this magical day, mid 90s, late 90s, the literal phone rings. My producer tells me, Ted Nugent wants to get a hold of you. It's like pinch. It's like, I beg your pardon? What? And then we get to make the acquaintance. You've been on the show a bunch. We were at the Rio Bonito Ranch there between Kerrville and Junction, Texas, for your 50th birthday there in December a few years ago. And I still can't believe I was there, and I still can't believe the incredible honor of you as a friend.
Well, John, I got to tell you, not only does self-evident truth, logic, and common sense resonate between Mark and I, but what Mark does on his radio show, he gets this stuff. He has the evidence to support everything he says. But equally important to that, he will have features about artists that meant something in his life, and the songs, the soundtrack to his life, which happens to be the soundtrack to millions and millions of people's life. And he goes into details about where the artist was born and what kind of pies they like and what kind of guitars they play. So Mark is a detail guy, and no matter what the subject may be, he's got this history book gushing forth over his radio programs. It's really, really unique. You used the term unique earlier. I don't think anybody in the talk radio world, especially in the world of conservatism, that they get into the details of the best music in the world, whether it's the Small Faces or Linda Ronstadt or Bob Seger or the original Ted Nugent of the Amboy Dukes, and he'd be able to pick out the songs. And so John, Mark, and I have that. And of course, John and I have always celebrated with our guests and off the air that the soundtrack of really dedicated samurai spirit music warriors, they really bring a great quality and a great fortification to our life. And I'm going to just make one other comment, because I spent the day 3 days ago in Llano, Texas, doing a fundraiser and a tribute to the Delta Force warriors. There were some Army Rangers, Green Beret, Navy SEALs in Delta Force. And Mark and John, guess who was there with me? Jimmy Ray Vaughan and Stevie Ray Vaughan's drummer, Chris Layton.
Oh, wow.
Dig this. Mark, we set up in Cooper's barbecue dining room, and we jammed half the night in the dining room of a barbecue shop in Lano, Texas. So it literally jettisons back to the origins of what turned us on the music. And here it is, 2021, 70 years later for me. And that pulse, that black historical blues, rhythm and blues, gospel pulse, especially Jimmy Ray Vaughan, Chris Layton.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the energy and the piss and vinegar in that barbecue dining room?
And you talk about the need to, the ability for, because it's kind of funny because people listen to you, to me, to John, and they might think, oh, there's something divisive there. We don't ever want to divide. We want to invite people to understand our side. And I want to welcome another side and entertain that in that wonderful sound of democracy. But in a real theme of unity, especially racial unity, which everybody thinks is gone, I believe that every decade, every year, we get better. And maybe that, and I don't know if the Obama presidency might have harmed it all, and a lot of the activists and the critical race theory, and just all of the nonsense, the punitive grievance nonsense that we're seeing. And there's only one reason I'm bringing this up, is because everybody needs to understand that the extremely conservative, extremely white Ted Nugent loves African American culture, embodies it, and has woven it through his work like nobody else. And one of the first appearances that Ted made on the show, he said, people need to understand that I'm essentially Rosa Parks with a guitar and a middle finger. Yeah. And I thought it was just one of the greatest quotes ever. And it was a full appreciation of her courage in history.
Totally.
And the ability of all of us to get along in goodwill and good humor. And that's what we need more of.
Mark, you know, one of the things that Ted and I have been talking about is how important it is to fight for everyone's right to be wrong. The idea that there is a definitive right, like the fact America only exists because we keep turning over ideas and we keep saying, listen, if you don't agree with what I believe, and if you think I'm right, I have a right to be wrong. I mean, maybe I am wrong. I don't know, but you can't say that. You can say you're wrong, and I can say, well, I have a right to be wrong.
Right, because it's also because that's subjective. And you know where it used to be safe to talk about things like that? A little thing called college campuses. I went to the University of Maryland for 4 years, and it was from 1975 to 79. And it wasn't like today. And Maryland's a pretty liberal state, and I was a pretty conservative kid. And it was just no problem. We were coming off of Vietnam, and it was just prior to Reagan. It was essentially during the Carter presidency, which some people loved and I didn't. And so I remember having a lot of conversations with people. And it was when you could have actual conversations. Now, a speaker like me, often I still do a lot of college campuses. Shh, don't tell anybody, but I do. Yeah. But a lot of people with views like mine aren't even welcomed onto college campuses anymore, where the atmosphere used to be, listen, here's a conservative guy. Everybody who agrees, come attend the engagement. If you disagree, please come and attend. We're going to open it up. We're going to take questions. We're going to have back and forth. And maybe when it's all done, maybe we learn something. Sure. I want that back so badly.
Where did you grow up? Where did you? You said you grew up outside of D.C. I grew up in Vienna, Virginia.
There you go. Now you're more an Orange Line guy. I was out there on the western fringe there of D.C., down right by Andrews Air Force Base in southern Prince George's County, right by Camp Springs, Maryland. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, I used to do a lot of speaking engagements at university on college campuses as early as the late 80s and into the 90s. And you know, that's usually a bastion of liberalism, but I always had a good time and I keep it upbeat. I'm a sweetheart. I'm a kind guy. I challenge people in a gentlemanly way to counter what I believe in, and I'll make certain points about certain political truisms, and I'll say, come on, I never went to college. I was too busy learning stuff. You guys have degrees and stuff. Go ahead and convince me where this is wrong. Tell me how I shouldn't keep and bear arms. Tell me how gun-free zones where the most innocent lives are lost, how more of them will benefit anybody. And I would prowl the stage and I go, come on, I got a microphone. I'll give you the microphone. Come up here. Come on, guys. And I never had any takers. And then
do you know why? is because in a 2-hour, hour and a half Ted Nugent speaking engagement at the University of fill in the blank, they got more logic and critical thinking than maybe they received in 4 years of actual instruction, getting their social worker degree or grievance studies master thesis, because college is no longer about putting people through the crucible of critical thinking, making them back up what they say, forcing them to confront their own views. Because if you do that, if somebody challenges your views every day, one of two things happens, and they're both good. It makes you more convinced that you're right, or it makes you think, wow, maybe somebody has a better point than I do.
Sure.
Both of those are good. And again, we really need those opportunities back.
Yeah, and that's how I got to this place, because I didn't have anything written in stone. I was the universal human being. Ignorant, mushy-brained youth. I was an ignorant, mushy-brained youth. I had never heard of communism. I go, communism? What is it? I mean, like when hippies get together and they eat the same food? Vietnam, where's that? I never heard of the Bataan Death March. I didn't really understand what Iwo Jima was when I graduated from high school. I had to learn that stuff on my own. I had to learn about the Bataan Death March and the rape of Nanking. I had to learn about the Trail of Tears and how horrible people can be to each other, and how you fortify yourself with a document that gives you individual rights so that you never have to be subjected to such cruelty and abuse of power. So when I do my speaking presentations, I am able to summon unlimited evidence to support any claim I might make. And I've found, if you watch my debates, I'm being generous with the term, on TV with people, I have always left them speechless, because I bring forth such down-to-earth, pragmatic, first-hand experience. How shooting a .44 Magnum and cutting down firewood, that's fun. It doesn't hurt anybody. Nobody robbed a bank with the .44 Magnum that I cut down trees, David Letterman. So he had to change the subject way back then, because I left him. I exposed the transparency and the lack of information or evidence to support their side. And Mark, again, you do that every time I listen to you on the radio. I've become more dangerous listening to Mark Davis on the radio because I have a really good radar and I sponge information. And you have provided so much meaningful and important information when I listen to you on the radio over the years. I want to personally thank you for that, and especially highlighting the soundtrack to your life and my life. And you know that I bet you're bombarded with a positive response from your listeners. John, what Mark does, he keeps it so upbeat, even as he's just decapitating somebody with a stupid idea. He is so sweet about it. That's why I like to consider myself Mother Teresa with a Glock, because I'll be sweet and I'll dress your wounds, but I'll also protect you from a bad guy because I have a Glock. So Mark, I want to salute you for that. And I really, really appreciate you joining on the Campfire. And let's all pray together that we can rendezvous if they give the green light to the Ted Nugent Come and Take It tour. It might be called Ted Nugent Come and Take It, or maybe Ted Nugent Handsome Devil. I'm not sure which. But either one, we will be at Billy Bob's if they authorize the damn tour this summer, and I can't wait to share that Campfire with you, man.
I can't wait to be there with you, because because you've been so much to my life. From I'm a teenager listening to you coming out of the speakers of my 1976 Buick Century, all the way through. You're a guest on my show. I'm at your birthday party. We're friends. I can't tell you what that means to me. And to be here with you on this amazing podcast, and to say hi to you, John, and to be part of this family, not just the Nugent actual family, but the Spirit of the Wild family. You might say it's a unique honor. So God bless you, man.
That's right.
It's a widespread family of very positive shit kickers, and you're one of us. Believe me, Mark.
Thank you, man.
God bless you, man. Thank you very much. Mark, I'll keep in touch with you.
Thank you, Mark.
Before you know it.
Anytime.
God, see, all my friends are just so cool. It's nuts.
There you go. I know. There you go. Another show, another guest, another amazing person. And you know what, Ted? I've been thinking a lot since our last show, and it's interesting how Mark was talking about how the pendulum has swung. What I would say is the pendulum is swinging because it's unsustainable to keep everybody quiet. And we all want to hear what everybody has to think. We all want to embrace ideas. So I'm very optimistic. But before we sign off, Ted, since it was the 109th birthday of Fred Bear, do you think you could play us an acoustic version of Fred Bear?
I must. In the Wind,
You
he's
must.
still alive. John, Courtney, Herbert,
That's right.
Mark Davis, everybody that was up in Grayling, Michigan, sending off that mystical flight of the Fred Bear arrow. Well, if I talk about it before I play the song, I won't be able to. So I'm going to maintain my composure. And this is for all my blood brothers of Fred Bear, because in the wind, he's still alive. There I was, back in the wild again. And I felt right at home, where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before, so many times. The spirit of the woods, he's like an old good friend. He makes me feel warm and good inside. And I know his name, it's good to see him again. I see him, 'cause in the wind, he's still alive. I'm talking about Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. To take me back where I belong. Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join you on the big hunt before too long. Yeah. Spirit, blood brothers. And it was kind of dark, another misty dusk. Yeah. And it came from a tangle down below. And I tried to remember everything he taught me so well. I had to decide which way to go. Was I alone or in a hunter's dream? The moment of truth is here and now. I felt his touch, I felt his guiding hand. And the buck, he was mine forevermore. Because of Fred Bear, I can walk down these trails again. He takes me back where I belong. Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join you on the big hunt before too long. Spirit, blood brothers. And we're not alone when we're in the great outdoors. We got his spirit, we got his soul, and he will guide our steps and our arrows home. The restless spirit forever roams, and it roams a threadbare as we walk down these trails again. He takes me back where I belong. Threadbare, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join you on the big hunt before too long. 'Cause in the wind, he's still alive. In the wind, he's still alive. 'Cause in the wind, I can hear Fred Bear. I hear you, Fred. At the spirit campfire. Hey, Fred, let's go hunting, buddy. Come on. Hey, Fred, you go up that ridge. I'll go down to the swamp. Go get that buck. God bless y'all. See you next Monday. Everybody's got a Fred Bear, and in the wind, they're all still alive. God bless y'all. God bless America.